So is Bo Nix playing as bad as his last place ranking according to Pro Football Focus?
Well, I think sometimes rankings are a factor of the people doing the tape evaluation. So, what's their experience level? What are they giving him credit for? I think I don't think he's playing badly. I think some of his mechanics are not quite where they were at the end of last season. I see a lot more frenetic footwork when there doesn't
Yes.
need to be, and when you're long on passes multiple times, you're either redlining when you're throwing or your footwork, your foundation isn't set. And I was taught 40 years ago to scout quarterbacks from the feet up, and I still do it that way. And his foot and look, there's plenty of people that work for the team that think I'm full of crap. So I just preface this with that. But his footwork is not as good as it was in December, and I think that's an issue.
Well, an example of that in the flea flicker when he gets back, steps up, basically jumps past to Mims, who's wide open, and falls into the offensive line. I mean, he's jumping forward. That's red lining, phonetic feet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Scotty, I just see that as little things that make a big difference. And uh, whether he's pressing, whether all of this talk about how good they're going to be is falling on his doorstep, which I think a lot of it is. Uh, whether that's all affecting him, he's not going to say that, and I don't think the coaches are going to say that, but uh, I think they should go a little more old school, just run the ball a little more, get them settled, and then try for the big stuff and put them on the move. But they have moments when they look like they could be a pretty good play action team if they were just willing to live in that neighborhood for a while.
How about the defense? Do you think the defense has played up to standard, or do you feel like it's been a little bit of a letdown?
Probably a little of both, Tyler. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they didn't get the closing play in either game when they needed to. But I think if you have 7 possessions on offense that don't get a first down, you're continually putting defense in harm's way. And I'm not sure any defense can hold up to that in the modern league when, some of the PI and illegal contact flags, I personally don't agree with, because that's how I watch teams play defense for a long time. So I think part of being a great defense in today's NFL is an offense on the other side that doesn't put you in a lot of difficult positions that are hard to defend, no matter how good you are. But I think they've rushed the passer as good as you can. I think they got caught. Look, Daniel Jones is playing as good as anybody right now, and the throw Herbert makes with, well, I think it's Bonito that's basically in his rib cage.
I think it was Zach Allen on the touchdown throw.
Yeah, I mean that's as good a throw as
Yeah.
I've seen anyone make in
Yeah.
in 20 years.
And
I mean,
not horrible coverage either.
No.
that's what I mean.
Fine.
I don't think they're playing poorly, but they did not. The one thing is, look, they didn't get the stop that would have decided either game, and even the defensive guys have admitted that. I mean, Benito said after the game when a few of us were standing there, you can't play 3.5 quarters and not close the deal, essentially.
So kind of what I'm hearing from you in the last few minutes, a little bit of play calling change, a little bit of fundamental change in this team can turn things around.
Well, look, they're probably, yeah. I mean, I think they have to just find, like, what we started with. They got to find something on offense they can lean on. I mean, Tyler, you've been in the league. You guys have watched all this for a long time. If you don't have a spot on the play sheet where you can go to when you're in trouble, these are the plays we really can live with in the tough times. I think it's really hard to be a good offense. And I don't know that they have that right now, because I don't know they've stuck to anything long enough to find it.
The Bengals, Jeff, do what well without Joe Burrow?
Well, that's a lot to ask. I mean,
It is.
if you get the ball to those receivers, they're going to damage you, big time. But I think you're seeing why a lot of GMs I know in the league believe you should never, ever, ever pay two wide receivers elite money, because there may be no more position on the field more, reliant on the other parts of the game than receiver. So, but yeah, if they get the ball to Higgins and Chase, they're a problem. But, I think they're in a tough spot right now, because losing Burrow isn't just losing another guy. You have to restructure every single thing you do on both sides of the ball.
We just got the word. Some of it's familiar, but nominations for the Hall of Fame. We talked about it a while ago. Two prominent names, obviously, Rod Smith and Tom Nalen. Clady's on there as well. We talk about Shanahan. I think it goes to the Olders or the others or whoever votes for that one. But is there a case for Rod Smith and or Tom Nalen to be Hall of Famers?
Certainly. It's just this class, you look at the first-timers who are eligible in this class, and there isn't going to be a lot of room for players who played a long time ago. I think Rod's problem is people don't appreciate what it took to be a full-blown wide receiver when he played. You had to block or you didn't play, and his numbers are far better than will be reflected in a time where, everybody's going to have tons of catches and everyone's going to have tons of yards. And, when I look at receivers for the Hall of Fame, I often look at what I call, quality receptions. Don't give me 300 crossers in your career that you caught short of the sticks and everyone's giving you credit for being fourth all time and, or whatever it is, top 10, top 15 all time in catches. Give me the quality catches. And I think Rod certainly had Hall of Fame worthy quality catches. And I would love for a chance to argue his case. And, Tom's a center, and that may be the toughest position to make Hall of Fame in general, just because it's so hard to quantitatively explain it to the rest of the group, or when you're comparing it to guys with sacks and touchdowns and the rest of it.
Yeah, we were saying that, if it's not longevity, being a center for a team that's won championships, being all pro, making Pro Bowls, and having a significant runner behind you.
And maybe the most dominant run game in the history of the NFL.
And
multiple 1,000-yard rushers, a 2,000-yard rusher.
If Tom doesn't get it, what in the world could you do as a center to get in? It's kind of ridiculous.
That's what I mean. I think it's the toughest spot, because I can stand in the meeting and say, he went 10 years without missing a protection check or something like that. And people, it's just going to go right over people's heads. But, by God, we'll talk about receivers who caught 400 passes that didn't mean anything. So
why doesn't the Hall of Fame, and I'm just sort of shouting this out, but why doesn't the Hall of Fame just have different categories for guys to get in? There's a category for the positions. And make it sort of easier like that.
Yeah, you didn't get to score touchdowns or something. I don't know. But I think this is I'm pushing my 30th year on the committee, and I just that center may have become the toughest position to make it, just because it's we've become so numbers centric in the selection process. It's really hard to boil center down to a number that people can digest.
Anyway, Shanahan doesn't get in this year.
That Scotty, I've spent long enough on the committee to just always have the caveat. There's always a way where he doesn't go in, but he should have gone in on his first year of eligibility and every year since. But that's just, I'm but one voice in a big crowd in the meetings.
Did Mike get sideways on some of these guys? Some of these?
No, there's none of that at working. I think it's just recency bias is a very powerful thing. And I personally don't think Mike's being given enough credit for, you can just turn on games every weekend and basically see his offense all over the place. And I don't think he's being given enough credit for that. And if he were, he'd already be in.